Do you think when these files are released, do you think there will be anything in there that really helps boost the ideas that you're presenting in your book, or do you think that's something that they really investigated?
We absolutely know if they released, well, for example, Jeff Morley has been in court for years looking for documents that should show case officer reporting by the people who were case officers for the anti-Castro student group, the DRE, the Student Directorate, who was in contact with Lee Harvey Oswald. We know that those people, the group made reports because they needed to make reports to get money. They were being funded for to do this sort of work. They had to make reports. So that had to be in the files. The case officers routinely met with them. Those should have been in the files. We know that existed. He's been unable to obtain anything related to known case officers. If they release that, what I think what we would see, and the reason we haven't seen it, is that there were indeed operations going on around Oswald, probably with him unwittingly being used as a propaganda device that were in play. And they were still in play and being developed on November 22nd. The CIA did not want to admit that. So that could be explosive to that extent. It could show that Oswald was not, if Oswald's important enough to be being used by the CIA, he is not some lone nut off the radar, whatever. David and I found in our work on New Orleans that there's a very good chance, which is it's been rumored for a long time, that Oswald was, at least for a period of time, considered as a provisional subversive informant for the FBI in New Orleans. One of the reasons for that is that he voluntarily went to the FBI and offered to inform on this non-existent Fair Play for Cuba committee group. If you're playing this by the book, he's providing them information that reads as if this is a clandestine group, which they are charged to investigate. They should have had him as a PSI, sorry. Did they? Did they not? Isn't that in the files out of New Orleans that we've never seen? Because they did not provide those. The only view of Oswald in New Orleans we have is from headquarters files and headquarters rewrites of stuff from New Orleans. So if that were really, so again, will that tell us about the conspiracy? No, but it might tell us why agencies participated in the cover up for their own interest. Again, I think what we could confirm for historical value is there was not the investigation that there should have been, and that's why we don't know. That's why any conclusion that he was acting alone, whatever, is not historically sound, because we can see that information was being shielded. That that could come out, and we know where to look. And we have gone to a lot of effort to compile a list of these files. Essentially, what are they? Where are they? What would be in them? That we have offered to the administration. We, as far as I know at this point in time, I've seen no feedback that they're interested or willing to take them. Hopefully, that just me not seeing it, and that they are willing to take them, because it would save them a lot of time. Without that, I don't know how in the world they're going to find the good stuff, especially with everybody leaving.
Right. Do you think if every file was ever released, do you think that would in itself provide uh, the final story, if you will?
No, because I would not expect it to be documented. And in my view of what happened, you know, you don't. Well, let's put it this way. I've looked at least 7 different regime change operations where the CIA, as a body acting for the president, was doing this sort of stuff. They always use surrogates, like we were using the Cubans against Castro. You never find anything in writing. The best you find in Guatemala, it's a great document. It says, basically, it says, yeah, we know that these revolutionaries that we were working with, training or providing weapons, came to us and said they wanted to kill the president of Guatemala. We didn't respond. Like, wait a minute, you did not tell them no, you did not tell them yes, you just what that really means is that's the way the game is played. Nothing is ever put in writing. Uh, we know that William Harvey, during circa about 1962, wrote a memo saying that somebody had brought up killing Castro in a meeting, and he's writing a memo saying this guy's out of your mind. We never say that in a meeting. We don't, shut him up. That's, we should know better than that. So no, we're not going to find any documents. We can find clues, but we're not going to find any documents because that's not, especially with this one, which is, if it was the rogue operation with experienced operators, they know. William Harvey, if William Harvey was part of it, as I think it was, this is the guy who said you never talk about this and you certainly never write anything down. So no, I don't think so.
Right on. Do you think, I've seen on your website that you have you mentioned that you're not writing as much on there right now because of the book release, but you're going to pick that up again pretty shortly. But I see you had
Yeah,
a thing that,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, you go ahead. That's okay.
Oh, I was just going to say, I seen you had a thing on there that was special to the RFK and MLK file release. Do you want to touch on that at all?
Yeah, of course, I've researched and worked with Stu Wexler, did 2 books on the MLK case. So we think that's pretty well documented. For MLK, we probably could do more. There are documents, especially out of the FBI's Merkin file, which was never released to the public, which was their investigation, full investigation. The House Select Committee's um, investigation was never released to the public. So if this new initiative managed to release those, that could very well deserve a new book, a new study, whatever, because it would be prime new documents that we've not seen that we think could help pull it together. So that's a possibility. RFK is much harder because there was no federal investigation at all. It was strictly, yeah, the FBI did take some leads. The FBI did do some inquiries and interviews, but minimal compared to what LAPD did because this was really a local crime. It was responded to that way. LAPD did collect a lot of evidence. There is a lot of evidence. What remained, they did destroy a lot of evidence, physical evidence, but that's more a matter of collecting what's available in universities and researchers have put together. Again, that would require time and money to put it together. Um, what we have not seen is we have not seen or never saw anything out of the um, the prosecutor's office in LA. We've never seen any of the internal correspondence. We don't know why. It's very clear that the DA ordered LAPD to stop. They essentially drew a line at a certain point and said, just cut it out. No more. You can't find the polka dot dress girl. We don't, we've got Sirhan. We want to go for a conviction. Don't muddy the waters anymore. And there is a specific point in time when they start going back through their files and marking everything off and they close it down. We don't know why. What it would be fascinating to know what political decision caused that. And there are things that we could learn from there, but it's not like the other two. What they did not do, and fascinatingly, one of the key leads that the FBI got that LAPD did not get, in fact, they got it from the FBI, was a clue that might have led to foreign involvement. Might have been led back to Iran, to Savik, which is the Shah of Iran hated RFK extremely because RFK had been encouraging student revolutionaries in Iran to overthrow the Shah. James Angleton, we know, had files on the RFK assassination. We know they existed. We don't know if they still exist. We don't know if they were brought into the CIA headquarters for. There could very well be a CIA connection there that would reveal what they knew about possible foreign involvement. So there are some things that could be done. But again, you've got to really know the case to know where to look for that stuff. I hope it would be great to look there. I'd love to follow out that lead. So there are things that could be done on all of them, but they're all different because each case and each investigation was different.
Right. And handled by different people, right?
Yeah.
Do you think? I guess. Do you think that they're going to discover more files, or you think that was just something that? I mean, that's a pretty close number to what they withheld when Biden was president, right? They were going to release about the same amount at one
Yeah,
point, and then they withheld some.
I don't think they're going to find a lot of new files unless, now here's the thing, we're talking about three different sets of materials. We're talking about the collection that's at NARA that was released by the ARB and the HSCA. I mean, you could release some documents that are already there that would add to the total, but not that many, hundreds perhaps. That's a new release of documents that NARA already holds. What is key are the documents that are still out in the agencies that for whatever reason were not provided earlier. But that requires the work to go out and collect them. But there is actually a third body of material that's probably even more important to solving the JFK conspiracy, and that's the things that were privately held. Films, like the Nix film, materials, autopsy materials, JFK autopsy materials that were collected by the Kennedy family and taken out of evidence. We don't know where we are. We suspect that they might have been buried at sea, but all we know is the Kennedy family got them. Okay, those could be very important. Another thing, there are a series of interviews that William Manchester did with Jackie Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, other individuals. He was working for the Kennedy family. Those were not provided and are still privately held. And what's especially important is we know that both Jackie Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy believed that there was a domestic conspiracy that killed JFK. We know that because they actually had people tell that to the Russians, that they weren't suspicious, because we know that there were suspicions. What did they tell Manchester, and why is this still sealed? What did they know? What did Bobby Kennedy know that led him to think that the CIA and the Cubans had done it the afternoon of the assassination? Because he made 2 telephone calls, and that was the subject of both calls. What made him think that? Did he tell Manchester? Nobody ever asked him that we have on record, but the problem with that, of course, is it would require a presidential authority to actually make those legally collectible and take them into the public domain. It's amazing that some of these things were not taken into the public domain as evidence. But so when you talk about it again, it's complex because there are really 3 sets of material that we need, and it's the last 2, the ones that aren't in the collection, that would be most helpful and maybe even solving the crime.